Welcome to Highlight, a Life Church Midweek. Hold up. End of week, right? It's Friday. Oh, what are we doing on a Friday? End of year. Let me start over. Welcome to Highlighted, a Life Church end of week, end of year podcast. Here we're on a journey to look for ways to make our sermons more practical in our everyday lives. And we want to inspire you to live out your faith every single day, every single year, not just in 2024, not just on Sundays. In each episode, we highlight our sermons and our ministries to see how God is working in our church and through our community. And boom, I nailed it this time. And I know what you're thinking. What do you mean this time? Oh, you had to redo the intro? No. You had to record on another day because you ran out of time? No. We just sat here and had our conversation for Highlighted for about 30 minutes, and we weren't recording. So this is technically, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit. You know this. You know, nothing's a surprise now.
Right.
We're going to talk about how many episodes we've done this year. And originally, I said we did 15 audio only.
Right.
Through the Minor Prophets and a couple extra ones. And then we switched to our video format in August. And this is episode 20. That's coming out for you guys. But for us, this is episode 21.
It's episode 20, take two.
Take two. So welcome to Highlighted. If you're joining us for the first time and you're thinking, what are these two guys doing? Who are these two dummies up here just blabbing around? And they need to zip it, and we need some new people. You're right. We probably do, but you're stuck with us. So
here we are.
Welcome to Highlighted. Like I said, we've done 35 episodes this year. 36. We've done 36. Right. That have taken a big journey. And when we were audio only, we kind of moved around a little bit. We did some in your office. We did some in my office. I did one in Alabama.
Yeah.
And
we even did one in the green room.
Yeah, we did one in here during what was going on?
I don't know what was happening.
Was there voting or
maybe
something? Something was going on, and we went and we hid back here, and
we did
in a little closet
in the middle of a service that was happening in here that we were probably supposed to be in.
Yeah, not a Sunday service.
Yeah, it wasn't a Sunday service.
Just a preface.
We had a special guest, and he was only here for a little bit, and so we were in my office, but we were all probably supposed to be in here.
Yeah. And we're not going to name any names, but if you want to support the refinery in Huntington, West Virginia, man, we love what they're doing. Pastor Dylan, we love you. Unrelated to the special guest. This is completely unrelated.
Yeah.
But no, it's been a lot of fun. And then we moved to video format, and now you get to see us, the most handsome men in the world, probably, according to our wives. Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe just according to ourselves.
Yeah, so we already did this, and a lot of this is going to be redundant from us, but you're joining us for the first time, and I want to share some numbers. I got an email from Spotify with our Spotify Wrapped information. If you're not on Spotify, man, it's the superior music streaming platform, I think. I have a lot of friends who use Apple Music, and I know Pastor Baba uses Pandora, and I don't know why he uses Pandora. But
He's not here to defend himself.
Yeah, I've been an avid Spotify fan for all of my adult life and a little bit before then. And they do something every single year. They do Spotify Wrapped, and they give you all of your numbers, how many minutes you listened to music this year, who your top artist was, what your top songs were, and a bunch of other information, how many genres you listen to, and it's like super detailed oriented. But then they send you an email if you're a creator. And we got an email for Spotify for creators about this podcast and about our Sunday morning sermons. It's all one on the Life Church podcast. So we don't have quite the numbers just for Highlighted or just for Sunday mornings. But overall, I just want to share a little bit about these numbers that we had. So this year alone, from January to about the end of November, I think is when they stopped tracking, we had 175% growth in listeners.
Come on.
And this is based on last year's number, which we had our sermons being uploaded as podcasts, but we didn't have our midweek podcast yet. And then we had our streams went up 385%. And then lastly, our followers went up 55%.
Come on.
And this year alone, right? So I got another number. They said that 72% of our listeners are first-time listeners for this year, out of everyone who listened to a sermon. So if you're joining us and you're listening on Spotify, these are your numbers. So give yourself a little pat on the back and thank you for listening. And if you're on Apple Podcasts or Amazon Prime or YouTube, we love you too. We just don't have
We don't
those
have numbers.
unfortunately. So maybe email the YouTube
It's a million
people.
%. That's what it is.
So, but no, it's been a lot of fun, and just seeing how this conversation has grown over the past year, and knowing, we started this to coincide with our series Highlights, because we were going into a new book of the Bible every single week. And we'd been dreaming about doing this midweek podcast and just diving deeper, talking about different things going on here at Life, and we just never had a real opportunity to launch it. And once we knew, okay, we're in a different book each week, we need to launch it.
You gotta have it.
We had a 2-week turnaround from the time that we started to when we launched it, and man, I just haven't looked back since. It's been a lot of fun. It's probably one of my favorite things I get to do every single week, and because I get to spend it with the best pastor in the world. I say that every single week, but according to the numbers, they don't like your sermons on Spotify, at least. On Spotify.
Users.
So Spotify users that are listening to the podcast, you got to listen to some of the sermons, because we can't have 300% growth in streams from sermons to highlight. And I'm assuming, perhaps that you have a sermon that did really well, and that's where the 300% growth came from. But I'm going to assume that it was highlighted, and it was me up here talking with you.
That's what it was. Yeah. I said this earlier to you. I did have a friend who we were having coffee, and he was like, hey, one of the things I love about your podcast is that it's not just you talking the whole time, but I get to hear Paul's heart and get to hear what he has, and he adds in and what he's got to say. And then he proceeded to say how wise you were for your age, and I told him he didn't really know you like that.
Yeah, like I said this earlier, but this Santa hat's kind of tight on my head, and it's because my brain is just so large. There's a lot of purpose up here in my brain, but we'll get into purpose in a little bit. Lastly, I just wanted to share our most streamed episode, and earlier on our Take One episode for you guys at home, I had him guess which episode did the best in streams, and now he knows it. No, don't guess. So our number one most streamed episode on Spotify. So if you're watching on YouTube, we weren't even on YouTube at this point. We were just audio only on this episode. And it was highlighted a conversation about the book of Amos. And we were looking about how God is looking for us to be true worshipers. And we talked about the plumb line. On Sunday, we talked about how there's a purpose, and if we would build a straight life, that people would see that. And it feels a lot like our last series that we were in, and it feels like this whole year we've been talking about the same kind of thing. And I say that every single week, and we talk about it every single week. And I don't think it's any secret here for anyone that listens to Highlighted that, man, we've been going in one direction, and I'm excited to shift gears for next year. And I'm gonna go ahead. Last episode, we did this a little differently. I waited till the end of the episode, but I'm going to give Pastor Josh his Christmas gift now that he knows what it is. And as you see, I'm reaching in my pocket. You think I'm going to pull out a sum of cash or a credit card. It's not cash. I didn't, before I pull it out for you at home, you know this. I already told you this, but I didn't have any time. We've been pretty busy this Christmas season. There's been a lot happening here at Life. There's been a lot happening.
We're doing
at
things
home.
twice now.
We're doing things twice, so clearly we're really busy. And I didn't have time to go get you a gift, but I had an idea that got a gift for you kind of from me. So I got this beautiful invite card that says, Jesus loves you, come sit with me. And I'm going to invite you to church on Sunday. And when you get there, fill out a guest connection card. And then they're going to give you a free gift. They're going to give you one of these cups, which is awesome. I use this every single day. It's got tea in it right now. I have coffee in it. I've had hot chocolate in it. But you fill out that guest card, they'll give you the gift. And in a way, that cup is from me.
Gift. Hey, you know what? I'll take it. The guest gift might be a little different for Christmas at Life, but I get it. And so let's, since we're on this and we're talking about this, I appreciate your gift. Thank you so much. This upcoming year, the theme for the year is going to be this idea that invitation must be our instinct.
Yeah, it's. I think it's one of our core values.
We talked about it early on in everyday intersections, so these cards are going to be something that we're going to be giving out. We're going to be continually every Sunday. I'll be like, hey, invite somebody to church. Invite somebody to church. And if you're like, I already got cards, I'm like, well, those should already be gone. Invite somebody to church, and not just to church, but into your lives, right? Into what you're doing and how God has changed your life and what God has done for you. And so this year we focused a lot on internal discipleship, really being changed as a as a Christian, as a follower and a child of God, how am I changed? Because the gospel has to transform me, right? But it isn't just about what it does for me. The gospel has to also transfigure my relationships. And so if you were here for the Philemon series, you know that I'm kind of following a path here over the course of the last couple of years, this past year, the year we're in, and next year, whereby we focus really on internal discipleship and the transformation of ourselves this year, and we're focusing a lot next year on transfiguring and the transformation of our relationships with other people. And invitation is going to be the number one key to that. And so if you're really paying attention, you know our first core value is Jesus is our priority. That's about internalizing my discipleship. Second one is that community
is our foundation.
Third one is this one we're talking about. And so the first one is kind of about who I am. The second and third one really focus on others. And then the fourth one comes back to this idea of transformation being at the heart of everything we do. And so there is a method to the madness of series and of the things that we do and the things that we preach. For the most part, every once in a while we just hit on something that makes sense and it works because God is good. But
all the time.
Thank you for my gift all the time.
And all the time?
God is good. So thank you for my gift, but also to you.
You have to go redeem it, so you
okay.
don't have
I'm
the
good
gift
with
yet.
That. Yeah, I can live with it. I can do it. But yeah, absolutely. Well, this past Sunday we talked about.
Speaking of gifts, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of gifts, we talked about unwrapping purpose on Sunday, and it's. We won't spend a whole lot of time in this, but just a little bit of things to kind of hold up what we talked about. You know, this idea of purpose and that it's uniquely for me, that God created me. I was, you know, we were masterpieces created for a purpose, with a purpose, on purpose. And so I said on Sunday, I talked a little bit about Paul, and you missed a great opportunity to be like, you know, to really play up the fact that I gave
the thing is, I meant to play it up. I meant to, because I was going to close at the end with Marissa. Right. I knew that. And as soon as you said the thing about what I do is hard and how it's so hard to play guitar and then to even sing and do that, and man, like, you have it easy compared to me, basically. Absolutely. It's what I heard. Yeah. That's not true, but that's what I heard. And I just was going to keep that, and I was going to share my heart at the end and how it was my favorite sermon of the year, and how you flattered me so much by sharing all those nice things about me, and I forgot. So yeah, I missed my moment, so I'm taking my moment here and now.
You were definitely created for the purpose of leading people into the presence of God through worship. And so, you know, this idea of like having the skill set and even the dexterity to play guitar, the forethought to be able to sing a song. I struggle with just singing songs. I've led worship before, and I can do it in a pinch. It is not my purpose. And we didn't draw that distinction on Sunday at all, but I kind of like that distinction. We're all called to do things in a pinch, right? We're asked to do things in a pinch. I'm not a children's pastor per se, but I pastor children. And, you know, I'm not a missionary either, but I do missions. And so in a pinch, I can do these things, but my purpose is slightly different in the way that I feel like God has created me. And so we struggle with this, though. We have a really hard time with accepting that we have purpose and that it's not hard to grab a hold of. It's not hard to move into. We want it to be like this massive game of hide and seek, and we're playing against the greatest hider of all time. And that just simply isn't the case. Purpose is a gift that is freely given, like grace is freely given, like forgiveness is freely given. And it is a byproduct of grace and forgiveness. And so it is on purpose that you are given the gift of purpose, what you are called to do, what you are created to do. And it isn't always that it's just this one thing. You can play guitar and other instruments very well and lead worship, but that isn't your only purpose in life, right? And so as we seek these things out, we really begin to let it grow in us. God is handing us this gift. We don't have to fight for it. We don't have to beg for it. We don't have to play hide and seek. He's giving it to us. You were uniquely created for the purpose that he has given you. Here's the problem. We derail those purposes sometimes. And so when I was younger, my pastor at the church I grew up in saw something in me, and he knew that I felt like I was called into ministry. And so one day I was like, I'm ready. And he was like, you are? And I was like, yes. And he was like, okay. And within a week or so, he had me doing some things around the church, but then also was like, hey, we're going to have you do welcome. And I was up front and barely able to talk because I'm not as much anymore. I still have moments, but I have a massive fear of public speaking. And was like, I can remember that first Sunday, and it was really the first year or so that I was like just shaky inside. My voice was quaky. I didn't know what to say. It's not like you had a script. You just kind of had to get up and do it. But there were moments where I would do silly things that just weren't right, that needed to be corrected. And so one day I remember I got up, and it was a particularly late Saturday night, and I come in on Sunday morning, kind of tired, and I did this. Good morning, everybody. Right now, I yawned for real. Yeah. And I know he's like, my pastor was sitting there cringing because I know, like, now if somebody yawned on stage, I'd be like, you can't do that. Because he took me aside after service and in a very loving way was like, never do that again. And so, we had this conversation, and sometimes little things like that cause us to pull that gift receipt out and be like, okay, you know what? I'm not good enough. He doesn't think I'm good enough. She doesn't think I'm good enough. I can't do this. And we give this gift receipt back to God, and we say, okay, God, whatever you thought you called me to, whatever you thought my purpose was, you didn't create a masterpiece. You created a dud, right? You didn't create something that has purpose. And so here's the gift receipt. I'm giving it back. Yet those types of things can derail us. We can be derailed by simply life being so hard and difficult, and situations and circumstances. And so when we talked about this, we said, look, many times God hands us this purpose, yet we find ourselves in different ways trying to derail it. Here's what I would say to you today, and no matter what you're facing, no matter what you're going through, you were created with a purpose, on purpose. And I feel like maybe we don't say this to each other enough, that we need your particular unique purpose in the church.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't help but think, and we talked about this the first take, but there's been so much happening this month alone at Life. And we had our daycare Christmas program. That was a big success. And we had our Christmas Fest event, and there's over 300 plus people that walked through our doors, and in the course of 3 hours, right? So 100 people an hour, not quite. They came in different waves, but just those numbers of people that were impacted, and not just that, but the people that were serving to make that possible. And then now we're going to have Christmas at Life next week. And another thing, like, where people are going to come in that might not normally show up on a regular Sunday morning, but because it's Christmas, they're a little more willing to show up to church. And then we're going to have our Christmas Eve service, and there's people serving at all of these events, and knowing that, like, hey, I love what I get to do, but I can only do so much on one Sunday, and someone else has to serve a purpose. And maybe it's something I'm good at. Maybe it's something I can do well. But knowing that, like, sometimes I got to let that go and let the other person just succeed in what they're called to as well. And knowing that, like, we can't do it alone. But we also talked about there's other things happening at Life this month that people aren't always seeing, and how our Steadfast Seniors has adopted people in nursing homes that don't have a lot of family left, and has gotten them in Christmas gifts and celebrated Christmas with them, and how special that must be. And me and Marissa were talking about some people in our neighborhood that we want to give some gifts to. She's making loaves of bread. And there's these two older ladies that live alone that it'd be easy for us to count out because, they don't have a young family. They're not relatable to us, or we don't talk to them as often. But man, like, how special is it to know that, like, hey, you don't have your spouse anymore. Your kids don't live at home anymore. They don't even live in the same state, but your neighbors made you a loaf of bread, and being able to love on them, and knowing that we have people in our church that want to do that and want to love on people in a lot of times these places that people go to be forgotten. And then also we had
Absolutely.
GB3 feeding homeless people this month. And just knowing that the impact of what happens here isn't just what happens on a Sunday, right? And we look at
Absolutely.
our Sundays through this big magnifying glass. What worked? What didn't work? What can we do better? You know, was it engaging? Was it a good message? Were the songs good? And there's all these things that go into Sunday to make Sunday happen. And a lot of times we put our big magnifying glass, well, church is Sunday, and Sunday is church. But no, we are the church, and we say that every single Sunday. We say, like, you know, church is over, like service is over, but we're going to go and be church now. And that's how we dismiss every single week is we tell everyone, hey, we got to go be the church, right? We can't just come and have church.
That's good.
And knowing that, like, there's people in our family here that their purpose is to love their neighbor and to love their community because we can't love every single person ourselves, right? We can't be there to say, hey, I got you this Christmas gift ourselves, but to know that our purpose is God-given and he has got a plan for it, and knowing that, hey, you know, pastor's busy, and sure, it's his job to go and love on people, but he can use me to do that. Like, God can use me to do that, and I don't have to leave it all to the pastor, the pastoral staff to do that, but knowing that God is working in our church and through our community. I say that every single week on this episode, on this podcast. And just knowing how special it is to be a part of a family that will live out that purpose that God has called them to.
That's good. And there's so much of those things. Like the number of times I got a call from somebody in the church a couple of weeks ago that said, hey, there's a lady moving and she has zero help, and her and her husband both have back problems and they're not going to be able to lift their furniture. Is there anybody who can help? And we had a couple guys go and help move them on a Saturday. And this is a lady who's engaged in our church once or twice, but a family who is active and here, and who is just loving their communities, a friend of a friend of a friend, right? We have a family in the church who this year and for many years back have adopted a family and bought Christmas for the entire family, mom, dad, kids, and so there's a lot of these kind of behind-the-scenes things that are happening that are purpose-filled. They are and purposeful. And so I just want to encourage you that if you're having trouble finding your purpose, you're having trouble seeking that out, begin in places where you can be plugged in. Begin in places that you have passion. Begin to unwrap this gift of purpose and see whereby God is beginning to use you, where He's already planted inside of you something. As you unwrap it, don't derail it. Don't just walk away from it or think you're not good enough or that you couldn't possibly be used by God. Lay those things aside. Leave them. Rip up that gift receipt. Quit trying to return this thing to God, and understand that you are called to walk in something and to do it without derailing yourself, to do it in a way that is understood that this is a free gift. Purpose, grace, forgiveness, purpose, it doesn't go away when we talked about not being able to take things with us all the time. When we die, we can't take these things with us. These are things we can take with us. These are things we can carry with us, and they are eternal gifts that will last forever. And that leads us into this last one. And all these have led into each other. So we got grace, we got forgiveness, we got purpose. And all of those things lead into what we're going to talk about Sunday, which is joy.
Yeah, and then I'm going to go home and watch Inside Out on Sunday.
One or two?
Two. Definitely two. I like Anxiety. I like her hair.
Yeah.
And I like the way she waddles around. And it's really funny to me.
That's good. I cry at both of those, in both of them. So I cry pretty much at any movie, so it's okay. But especially really good Disney movies.
Yeah, really good animated movies that you connect with the little figures, the little animated. They're not even people. They're little orbs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can't help myself. But as we kind of get into the end of this series, I think it's important that we don't lose sight that these gifts are not something we can return. They're not something we can give back. Every week we've had a gift receipt where we've challenged people to tear that thing up and just leave it here at the altar.
And a word that we've written down. So,
right.
And then I really thought we were going to do 3 words this week, because we did one word down the first week. We did 2 words. We did give twice. this week was purpose. I thought, are we going to write purpose 3 times down our sheet? That's a lot of writing, Pastor. My hand's getting kind of tired.
Unwrapped was pretty long in and of itself.
But it was just once.
But at least
it was just once. It
Yeah,
wasn't.
It was. And so this week I haven't. I think I finished my notes, unless God tells me something else. I think I finished my notes for the sermon. I always kind of do a read through on Friday and Saturday, and sometimes I'll make some shifts and changes and things. But I don't have a word this week that we're going to be writing.
He can still do miracles, amen. Our hands get a break, and I know you left-hand writers out there, you're sick and tired of your pencil and your pen ending up on your palm as you write all these words.
You got to go scrub your hands before lunch because of the pencil on your hand. That's funny.
Yeah, but I'm excited for Sunday, right? We are, I know what you're thinking. It's like, oh, this isn't the set of highlighted. This isn't the North Pole. We were at the North Pole last week, and somehow we didn't get kicked out. Rudolph didn't catch us. But now we're here on the stage, and there's a bunch of junk set up. I don't know. We might be singing 9 songs on Sunday. We might be having our kids read some special things. We might have a little power outage on Sunday. I don't know.
See what happens.
We have to come and see what happens. It's going to be a lot of fun celebrating Christmas with our Life family. And, man, I'm so excited. And I know what you're thinking at home. It's like, oh, we're going to sing 9 songs. We're going to be standing up there for 3 hours, and then he's going to preach for another 2. We're not leaving this building all day. That's not true. We're going to be here an hour and a half. It'll be our normal service time. And these songs, not all of them are corporate, so you don't have to stand. And a lot of them are for us to receive, and they go along with the readings. And we're singing, technically, we're singing 10 songs, if you count. I don't want to give too much away for you guys at home, but if you're listening, I guess you get a free pass because you're a friend of the podcast. You're a friend of Life Church. We're going to sing. We're going to sing a song at the end in response. I'm not going to say what song it is. It's not traditionally Christmas. It has some Christmassy things in it, but it's a worship song. That can be used at Christmas time. But then at the end of that song, we're gonna sing "O Come All Ye Faithful" together, and it's going to be this stripped down, beautiful moment of just all the voices in the room lifting up, "O come, let us adore Him." And it's going to be a really special moment, and that I count that as 1 song in the 9 songs. So if you count both of those songs, we hit 10 songs. And you're going to preach an amazing sermon. You're not going to go over on your time because we got to get out of here at a decent time. We still got Christmas shopping to do. We still have so much going on, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Just pack a lunch.
No, don't pack a lunch. Don't pack a lunch. We promise we will get you out of here at a decent time.
I'm kidding.
And, maybe you have to take Pastor with you so he can finish his sermon in the car on the way to lunch. But no, it'll be a lot of fun. And then we're going to follow up with that. We're going to have our Christmas Eve candlelight service. And it's just going to be this super special time. It's going to be really intimate, real family-based setting. It's not going to be a lot going on, and it's just going to be a special time. It's only going to be
1 hour.
an hour, maybe a little less. Maybe a little less.
59 minutes.
50 minutes to an hour. I don't want to say 50 minutes because I know some of you are going to be like, hey, Paul said it was 50 minutes. I'm walking out of here. I'm not going to take communion with everyone. I'm not going to light my candle and sing Silent Night. I'm leaving because Paul said 50 minutes. Yeah. But no, it'll be an hour. It'll be a lot of fun. And it'll just be a special time to celebrate as a family and a real special, intimate moment. And then we're going to not have service the following Sunday. So we're going to have a Sabbath Sunday.
On the 29th.
On the 29th, the last Sunday of the year, which is crazy that we're already here. We're already talking about the end of 2024. And this Sunday is specially designed for us to worship through rest, right? Because worship isn't just the songs that we sing. It's not just the sermons that you preach, and the numbers are down anyway, so you probably shouldn't preach a sermon anyway. But it's going to be a special time where we just get to rest and spend time with our families, and we get to save all of our energy. And I know what you're thinking, man, I need to praise, I need to worship with my church family. Well, we're going to have an opportunity for that on the following Tuesdays, New Year's Eve. We're having our New Year's Eve praise party. It's starting at 8 p.m., but service isn't starting at 8. I know what you're thinking. Well, like 8 to midnight, that's a long time of singing songs. I promise we're not singing more songs than we're singing this Sunday on New Year's Eve. And we're going to spend some time together as a family in fellowship and community. We're going to be playing some games, eating some food. We're going to have a little New Year's send-off for some of our kids that have to go to bed at an earlier time. And then at 11 p.m., we're gonna come and we're going to ring in the new year with some worship and praise. And then we're going to just stay a little bit past midnight, right? We're not going to go quite right to midnight and then go home because we got to celebrate the new year.
Right.
So we'll celebrate the new year. We'll sing one more song, and then we'll go home. And then we'll go home. So we won't be here till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I won't be, at least. Maybe you can be here. We will not be here that late. We're going to get in, celebrate the new year, praise our God for all that he's done and all that he's going to do in this next year, and then we're going to go and sleep. And then we're going to jump into our brand new series that I don't want to give too much away, but also to go alongside with that, we are also doing 21 days of prayer and fasting coming up in the month of January, and that's always a super special and fun time. But man, there's so much going on, and I feel like I say this all the time. It's the perfect time to be a part of the Life family.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, even the stuff that we talk about, the big stuff that happens on Sunday, but also the stuff that happens behind the scenes. So, man, if you served in any way this December, thank you from the bottom of our hearts because, man, we are reaching our community in ways that we could never imagine, in ways that we could never do just the two of us, in ways that we could never do just as a pastoral staff with our families even. Like, we have, between all of our, I mean, I don't have any kids. I have Chewy. But between all your kids and Pastor Sarah's kids and Pastor Baba's kids and all of them, and like we got a pretty big group that we can do a lot of good with. But man, like it is nothing compared to what we can do as a larger church family. So thank you for all your time, all your hard work, your investment into the kingdom of God. And I promise you, I know a lot of times it feels like we get tired. It feels like we get draggy. It feels like, man, there's no more we can do. But I promise you, God is seeing it and he's going to bless it and he's going to use it. And there's a purpose behind it all.
Absolutely.
And so that's all I want to leave you with, man. Come to Christmas at Life. Use the invite card. Get your friend a free gift that you forgot to get their Christmas present for. And join us this Sunday. Invite your friends, your family, your neighbors, whoever's going to be in town with you this Christmas. It's going to be a super special time, and you don't want to miss it. And as always, we love you, and we can't wait to see you again soon.